I received word that my daughter had been brutally attacked by a gang. I rushed to the hospital and found her blind in both eyes, covered in injuries from head to toe. My old comrade, a colonel, informed me that the police had arrived at the hospital and planned to detain me under the pretense of protection. This completely enraged me. Instead of going after the criminals who were still running free, they wanted to lock up the victim. It was obvious these cops were working with the gang, so I grabbed an iron tray and knocked out 2 guards cold. Seeing what happened, the colonel wisely handed over his car keys. I then went to my daughter's room. After a hurried goodbye, I stormed out in fury. 2 officers tried to stop me, but I took them down in seconds. I found the colonel's car and retrieved the weapons hidden in the trunk. Next, I went to my daughter's house and took the cop standing guard hostage. Under interrogation, he immediately gave up the gang leader's address and said the guy would know the inside story. Following the address the officer provided, I quickly tracked down the leader and dragged him to a secluded spot. When he saw the murderous look in my eyes, he instantly cracked. Before I even laid a hand on him, he blurted out the gang boss's address and handed over his car keys, begging me not to hurt him. But I had already developed a burning hatred for these people. I pulled out my gun and shot him through the thigh, then put a few more bullets in him before leaving. I found the address he'd given me. The bodyguards at the entrance didn't even see it coming before I took him down. A long-haired man witnessed this and immediately panicked, scrambling to hide. Seeing how guilty he looked, I drew my pistol and followed him inside. Cornered in the room, the long-haired man saw my fierce expression and kept backing away. Before I could even make a move, he was so terrified he collapsed on the floor, stammering that he wasn't the killer. His boss was the real culprit. But after learning everything, I had no intention of letting him go. I shoved the gun into his mouth and pulled the trigger. I picked up the phone from the floor and left the bar. Using the long-haired man's phone, I called the gang boss. When he heard I was coming for him, the gang boss wasn't fazed at all. In fact, he arrogantly described in detail how he had tortured my daughter. I was furious listening to this. The gang boss was so cocky and defiant. Clearly, he had already prepared countermeasures for dealing with me. With help from my colonel friend, I easily tracked the location of the gang boss's phone. Then I went alone to find their hideout. I took out the doorman with a chokehold, then quickly made my way inside the building. After tossing a grenade, I immediately opened fire on everyone in sight. Then I switched to a shotgun, kicked down the door, and unleashed hell. But after eliminating all the gang members, I discovered the gang boss wasn't there.